What's up, YouTube? It's been a few days since my last video, which was my channel introductory video, but I wanted to share some software development books that I've been reading and going over in between uh, the courses that I've been working on Udemy and various other YouTube tutorials. And so basically, anytime that I'm not at my computer or I have free time and I'm doing something, I like to just pick up one of these books and start reading. And that is just basically letting me study and learn on my off time. The first book I want to recommend to you guys is really not about software development, but it's called Soft Skills, the Software Developer's Life Manual. And this is written by John over at The Simple Programmer. And basically what this book is about is, well, actually it's about a few different things. As you can see, it's a pretty thick book, but it goes over stuff such as your career, things on getting started, thinking about your career goals, people skills, going to interviews. There's another section on marketing yourself. There's a section on various learning methods. There's a section on productivity. There is a section on finances and just whether it's what you're doing with the money you're earning or whether it's negotiating your salary and other things. There's a section on fitness, which is actually a very important one, being that most of us are going to be sitting behind computers constantly. And then there's a section on spirit, about how the mind influences the body, having the right mental attitude, and other things. And so far, I'm about 4 chapters into this book, and I can say it is very well written, and it's a book that I'm actually enjoying. I've found the Simple Programmer on YouTube, and I saw some of his videos where he was talking about business and marketing, and I really enjoyed his videos. And then I seen that he had just came out with his book, and being that I appreciated and I liked what I was hearing from him on those topics, I decided to go ahead, get his book, and help support him. Another book is actually a 2-book set I found on YouTube. I basically got both of them for maybe like $2 more than what just the first one cost, but it's John Duckett's HTML and CSS in JavaScript and jQuery. To be honest, I mean, if you go through, it's a really nicely designed book, which, I mean, on one hand, there's a lot of design aspect, and probably in any normal book, you probably, for what you would get in one page, it's probably taking up to 2, 3, 4 pages on here. But granted, they simplify things very, very easy. So if you have no type of tech background whatsoever, you barely know how to turn on your computer, this would be something that would be catered to you. For myself, almost everything that was in the HTML portion, which is probably approximately about like through here, I pretty much knew already beforehand. Not to say that there wasn't little tips and things and other tags that I haven't seen before here and there, but the majority of that I knew. Where this particular book actually had something to teach me was in the CSS portion. But if you're a complete beginner and you do not know the terminology of the industry and stuff yet, this is a very good book to pick up for you. I've only read about a chapter and a half of this JavaScript and jQuery book. Um, it's not quite as simplified as the other book, but for JavaScript, John Duckett does a very good job of simplifying it the best that he can for JavaScript. I think it's a very good introduction to JavaScript if you're just going over something, you're going through a beginner course. Good stuff to go along with that. Another JavaScript book that I have, and this one I've read about two chapters. I've read two chapters. It is The Principles of Object-Oriented JavaScript by Nicholas Zachas. And most books by this publisher, it is published by No Starch Press. I like a lot of their books. I think Zachas is a very good author for anything JavaScript. He's very clear, concise, and detailed in his writing. To look through a little bit, you'll see like here he's talking about freezing objects, goes through code, little projects that you'll do as you go through the book. I also have Build an HTML5 game. It isn't purely in HTML. This whole little project as you go through this book, it is HTML5, CSS, and a little bit of JavaScript. So if you're just looking for something fun to do as a little project to help you embed all the commands and various aspects of what you're learning to code, to embed that deeper in your head, to remind this is a fun little project to go through. I've only read the first chapter of this one, but I have looked through it just to kind of get an idea of what the game is going to be like. I mean, it's a good enough, simple enough. So I think I spent $10 for this on Amazon. When I saw it was on sale, so I went ahead and picked it up. What I originally started out learning coding was actually not HTML or CSS or JavaScript. Actually, it was Python. And I've got this book by Al Swigert called Automate the Boring Stuff with Python. And I bought this book along with Python Crash Course and another Al Swigert book, Invent Your Own Computer Games with Python. And because I was looking at various different languages, and just from the looks of it, it looked like Python was a fairly easy language to learn. Everything was short and concise compared to other program languages I was looking at. And initially I was just wanting to learn to code something, and I didn't really think about what I wanted to code for. I just randomly picked a language, and all honesty, I actually enjoyed writing code that I was learning to write in Python. And in this book in particular, I happened to have found some different development groups on this website called Meetup.com, and the two places closest to me was Cincinnati and Indianapolis. I live in the middle of both of those places, and each one's about an hour away from where I live. And they had JavaScript developers, they had React developers, PHP, SQL, MySQL, all the different SQLs. They had Python, and actually one of the groups I started going to actually had just started to go through this book. And so I was like, ooh, I have that book. I'll go meet up with them. So on every couple of Wednesday nights, I try to make it down there and go through the book with them. And I was surprised by the concepts I was learning was probably much more advanced than the things I was learning to do as far as web development was concerned for with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. With Python, I've learned how to use strings, arrays, and variables, and I've learned things such as scope, global scope, and local scope, and just basically, as this one says, use Python to do automated stuff, just to write strings of code that'll do things automatically for you so you don't have to do it again. And as more in depth as that was than what I was learning for web development, the way we wrote these codes, it just seemed so simplified and nice, and it wasn't long scripts of code. And then just watching with the other developers that was teaching the class and going over and sharing stuff with us, it just seemed like a very cool language, because you can use it for back end on web development, but you can also use Python to write desktop apps and other things as well. This one of the guys that was going over help teaching the class, he basically wrote a migration tool program to take various web apps and take them from one server and migrate them over to another server and automatically install them and have them up and running. And it was purely done in Python, and I thought that was really cool. So I really like how versatile that language is. They do a chapter every week. I'm only able to attend about every other week, so I just kind of try to go through and do that on my free time and knock out a chapter a week on my own, and when I'm able to meet up with them. Python Crash Course, I have actually not even opened up and looked at yet. But this was one of the books that was recommended to me from some users on Reddit. They basically told me that they gave me about 3 books, which one of them was automate the boring stuff with Python Crash Course, and learn Python the hard way. And those were the 3 that was most highly recommended to me to get started with that. And then, because they had this one bundled in with automate the boring stuff, I was like, ooh, computer games, it's cool, why not? It'll be a nice little project to work on as I'm learning this. And I think one of the games you learn how to make in here is tic-tac-toe. I think you learn how to make a hangman game, and I think you also learn how to make a little chess game. but a bunch of cool little projects if you want to learn coding on something outside of just web development. Um, then Python would be a great language for that. All of these books I will have linked below in the description box. If you all have any book recommendations for me, whether they're on Python or as I've kind of put my focus into web development, and so far I've uh, I've been doing things in HTML, CSS, and I've just now started to learn some JavaScript. So I'm going to start implementing those things. I do have a book. I think it is by a guy named Kyle Simpson. I do not know where it is right now. I think his name is Kyle Simpson, and he has a series. It's the first book in a series. It's called You Don't Know JS, and I think the first book is called Up and Going. It's basically getting up and going with JavaScript. And that book I have been taking with me whenever I've had to go to places like doctor's offices and various other stuff, and I've been reading through that. And that is a very good book. I would assume that the rest of his series is just as well. It's actually a fairly thin book. It was $5 on Amazon. So I would highly recommend to pick that up. His other books, I have looked online and seen that they're each a little bit longer. I don't remember exactly how long they are, but the way he writes things, he breaks it down pretty simple. He might not go through and define some terms very simply. He might kind of throw in like, okay, we're going to look at variables, and this is a variable and what it does, rather than just kind of holding your hand through it, so to speak. But it's still not hard to learn from. I would basically say, compared to the HTML CSS book that I showed earlier by John Duckett, they kind of hold your hand step by step through everything that you're learning. This one is just, you just got to kind of focus on what you're reading and realize, okay, this is a different section. It's going on to whatever this section is about, and you kind of just jump right in. It tells you what you're going to be doing, what that thing is, whether it's a variable or an array or a loop, stuff like that, and it just kind of goes right into it. Which for me, those are the kind of things I like to just jump right into doing stuff. But anyway, those are the books that I've been going through and recommend. If I had to pick two of the books for anybody to pick up that's going through it, that wants to go through and study anything, I would highly recommend, first of all, the Object-Oriented JavaScript, because I've noticed, at least in my area, a lot of jobs, when you look on Indeed, they want a lot of object-oriented programming things, and plus the three basic things of web development you're going to need to know is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, at least if you're going for front end. And even if you were going for back end, you would probably need to know the basics in each of those as well. The second book I would highly recommend was the first book I showed, Soft Skills. This doesn't have anything directly to do with coding, but everything it goes through will help you with your learning. It will help you with setting goals. It's actually a book that will help you basically in a lot of areas outside your life other than just career as well. All the principles taught in this book is basically good to use in just about every aspect of life. And a lot of these things are things that as adults, especially like setting goals and all this stuff, that's things that we don't really think about too much after we've gotten out of high school and stuff. So those are my two top picks out of the books I have for recommending. And as I said before, if you all have any books that you would like to recommend for me, especially doing with web development and JavaScript, and I think I would also like some book recommendations on PHP if anyone out there is a big PHP guru. Well, this is Joseph, the Code Noob, and these are the books that I'm reading and going over on my journey to become a web developer. If you like this video, please like it. If you dislike the video, dislike it. At least it's feedback. I'll know what type of videos to do in the future. If I get a lot of likes, I'll do more book recommendations. If I get a lot of dislikes, I probably won't do no book recommendations. If you do like the channel and you do want to see how I progress going from a complete noob to a web developer into getting my first job in the industry and beyond, then please subscribe and leave some comments below about what type of content you would like to see along the way. And have a great day. Thanks for taking your time to watch the video.